The Fall of Captain Vex Krakenor Part I. Captain Vex and the Bloodfang Captain Vex Krakenor stood on the bridge of his ship, the Bloodfang, admiring his reflection in the polished metal viewport. His forearms crossed in what he considered a menacing pose, his reptilian features twisted into what passed for a smile among his species. The Zephyrian pirate had earned his reputation the hard way, by being absolutely ruthless and completely without mercy. Well, that, and having really good marketing. Nothing strikes fear into the hearts of cargo haulers quite like a ship called Bloodfang, with skull decals and unnecessary spikes welded to the hull. Grix. Vex wheezed, his voice a gravelly rumble. Grix was his second in command, a nervous creature that looked like someone had crossed a praying mantis with an anxiety disorder. We have a target on long-range scanners. Vex's eyes lit up with the kind of predatory gleam that made insurance companies across 3 star systems raise their premiums. What kind of target, my twitchy friend? A human cargo vessel, sir. Grix's mandibles clicked nervously. Appears to be lightly armed. Minimal crew complement. The ship's designation is the Lucky Strike. Lucky Strike. Vex let out a sound that could generously be called laughter, but more clearly resembled a garbage disposal having an existential crisis. Oh, the irony. Their luck just ran out. You have to understand something about Captain Vex Krakenor. He had built his entire career on the assumption that humans were basically space-faring toddlers. Soft, pink, easily frightened toddlers who had somehow stumbled into faster-than-light travel through sheer dumb luck. The Bloodfang was crewed by some of the most vicious cutthroats in the galaxy. There was Skarn the Brutal, an 8-foot-tall beast whose idea of diplomacy involved creative uses of blunt objects. There was Zeta 9, a cybernetic assassin who had replaced so many body parts that philosophers debated whether she still qualified as organic life. And Grunk, whose species communicates primarily through violence, and had never met a problem they couldn't solve by hitting it harder. Set an intercept course, Vex commanded, already mentally counting the credits he'd make selling whatever pathetic cargo these humans were hauling. And someone polish my intimidating claws. I want to look properly menacing when we board their little toy ship. The Bloodfang changed course with the predatory grace of a space shark smelling blood in the vacuum. Its weapons systems powered up with satisfying hums and clicks. The crew began their pre-boarding ritual of sharpening various implements of destruction and practicing their most terrifying battle cries. What they didn't know, what they couldn't possibly have known, was that they were about to encounter something far more dangerous than any weapon in the known galaxy. A creature that had been the downfall of millions of civilizations throughout Earth's history. A creature that had driven the ancient Egyptians to worship it as a god and modern humans to voluntarily become its servants. They were about to meet a cat. Part 2. The unexpected encounter as the Bloodfang close to weapons range. Vex opened a communication channel, his voice dripping with the kind of theatrical menace that had made him famous across 12 star systems. Attention, human vessel. This is Captain Vex Krakenor of the Bloodfang. Prepare to be boarded. Resistance is futile. Surrender is inevitable. And your day is about to get significantly worse. The response came back almost immediately in a cheerful human voice that sounded like it was discussing the weather. Oh, hey, there, Bloodfang. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Lucky Strike. Sure thing, come on over. Fair warning, though, our security officer can be a bit cranky if you wake him up from his nap. Just thought you should know. Vex stared at the communication panel in confusion. This wasn't how demoralized cargo captains were supposed to respond. Where was the fear? The desperate offers of tribute? The existential dread? Did he just invite us aboard? Grix asked, his antennae twitching with uncertainty. Apparently, Vex asserted, suddenly feeling like he'd missed something important. And what's this about a security officer? But his pride wouldn't let him back down. Now, no matter, he declared, puffing out his chest scales. Whatever pathetic excuse for security these humans have cobbled together, we'll crush it like everything else. The Bloodfang locked onto the Lucky Strike with its boarding tubes. Vex straightened his armor, which was adorned with the skulls of his enemies, and a few decorative ones he'd bought at a gift shop on rail station. His crew assembled behind him, looking like they were heading to a particularly violent costume party. "Remember," Vex announced, "humans are weak, cowardly, and completely unprepared for real violence. This should take maybe 5 minutes, 10 if they put up a fight." The airlock cycled open with a hiss, and the pirates stormed aboard the Lucky Strike, with all the subtlety of a meteor impact. They expected screaming, panic, maybe some crying. What they got was Captain Jake Morrison, a middle-aged human in a faded jumpsuit, sipping coffee from a mug that read, "Galaxy's okayest captain," and looking about as concerned as someone waiting for a delayed shuttle. "Oh, hey, you made it," Jake said, raising his mug and greeting. "Welcome aboard the Lucky Strike. Coffee's fresh if anyone wants some." Vex stopped so suddenly that Grunt crashed into him from behind, creating a brief but colorful alien pile-up in the corridor. This wasn't in any of the pirate manuals. "I am Captain Vex Krakenor," he announced, "Scourge of the Spaceways, terror of the shipping lanes, the being whose very name makes cargo haulers wet themselves in fear." "Cool," Jake nodded approvingly. "I'm Jake. This is my ship. Nice to meet you. So, you guys here for the cargo? Because I should probably warn you, our security officer gets really grouchy when people mess with his stuff." "Your security officer?" Vex scoffed, his confidence returning. "Where is this fearsome guardian?" "Oh, he's around somewhere," Jake said with a casual air. "Probably napping. He takes his job very seriously, but he also takes his sleep schedule very seriously. I'd try not to wake him up if I were you." Part 3. The ultimate weapon. Before Vex could respond to this obvious delusion, a crash echoed from the cargo bay, followed by some very creative cursing in 3 different alien languages. Then came another crash, and another. "Sounds like someone found him," Elena, the ship's engineer, observed, not looking up from her tablet. "Found who?" Vex demanded, his confidence beginning to develop some troubling cracks. "Mr. Whiskers," Jake replied, "our security officer." More crashes, more cursing. Then came a sound that made every pirate on the ship freeze in terror. Not because it was particularly loud or threatening, but because it was so utterly unexpected in this context. Purring. Loud, rumbling, unmistakably feline purring, echoing through the ship's ventilation system like some kind of organic engine. "What?" Vex asked slowly. "Exactly is your security officer?" Jake smiled. "He's a cat. A 15-pound orange tabby cat named Mr. Whiskers, who takes his territorial instincts very, very seriously." In the distance, something that sounded suspiciously like Skarn, the Brutal, was screaming about a demon fluffball and begging for mercy. Vex stared at Jake for a long moment, processing this information. Then he started laughing. Not his usual menacing chuckle, but real, genuine laughter. "A cat," he wheezed. "You're trying to tell me that your security officer is a house pet?" "Yep." Jake nodded cheerfully. "And you expect me to believe that a small domestic animal is somehow a threat to my crew of hardened killers?" "Believe it or not," Elena said, "but you might want to check on your guys." As if on cue, the ship's intercom crackled to life. "Captain Vex," came Grix's voice, pitched higher than usual, and trembling with what sounded like existential confusion. "We have a problem." "What kind of problem?" Vex demanded. "The kind that can only be described as a masterclass in feline warfare," Grix stammered. Vex stormed through the corridors of the Lucky Strike, determined to see the supposed security officer for himself. What he found was Skarn the Brutal, all 8 feet of him, pressed against a bulkhead and staring at an empty corridor with the kind of wide-eyed terror usually reserved for cosmic horrors. "Skarn," Vex barked. "What's your status?" "It's in the walls, Captain," Skarn whispered, his voice barely audible. "The orange thing. It was there, then it wasn't. Then it was behind me. Then it disappeared again. I think it's toying with me, sir." Vex turned to Jake, who was still sitting calmly with his coffee. "What exactly is your pet doing to my crew?" "Oh, Mr. Whiskers isn't my pet," Jake corrected. "Nobody owns a cat. We just provide food and lodging in exchange for the privilege of existing in his space. And right now, I'd say he's probably doing what cats do best, which is being a complete agent of chaos while looking absolutely adorable doing it. As, if summoned by the conversation, fat orange tabby cat wandered into the corridor. Mr. Whiskers looked at Vex with the kind of expression cats reserve for particularly slow humans. His yellow eyes conveyed a message that roughly translated to, "Oh, another one. How tedious." Then he sat down and began washing his paw. "That's it?" Vex stared at the cat in disbelief. "That's your security officer? That's what has my crew running scared." Mr. Whiskers paused in his grooming to give Vex a look that clearly said, "Excuse me, do you mind? I'm trying to maintain my professional appearance here. Don't let the cute act fool you." Elena called from her workstation. "He's a strategic genius." As if on cue, the ship's lights flickered. The momentary darkness was followed by a series of sounds that painted a very clear picture. Running feet, panicked shouting, and then Zeta 9's cybernetic voice echoing through the ship. "Systems compromised. Multiple contacts. Target is vapor. That's impossible. Sensor readings show the target is simultaneously in the cargo bay, the engine room, and directly behind me. How is that even? Oh, gods. It's in the vents." Classic Mr. Whiskers. Jake nodded approvingly. He's got this whole ship mapped out in 3 dimensions. Every vent, every maintenance shaft. And cats, well, they're liquid, basically, when they want to be. "Liquid?" Vex repeated weakly. "Physics doesn't really apply to cats the way they do to other life forms." Elena explained matter-of-factly. "They exist in a quantum state of being simultaneously everywhere and nowhere." "This is insane," Vex claimed. "Sir," Grix's voice crackled over the comm, now pitched so high it was barely audible. "I think I know how it's moving so fast. There have to be at least 6 of them. I've seen it in 3 different places in the last 30 seconds. There's only 1 cat on this ship," Jake said patiently. "You're just experiencing what we call the cat phenomenon. 1 cat can effectively be in multiple places at once through a combination of speed, stealth, and what scientists call feline physics." Part 4. The surrender. Vex looked around at his crew. Grunk was now cradling a smaller orange kitten named Nugget, and looked like he'd rather face a squadron of battle cruisers than give up his new furry friend. Zeta 9 was covered in cat hair and seemed to be having some kind of existential crisis about the effectiveness of her targeting systems. Skarn was trying to untangle himself from Princess Fluffy Butt without success, and Grix appeared to be in the early stages of a nervous breakdown. "We surrender," Vex announced. Mr. Whiskers purred once, a sound of deep satisfaction, and rubbed against Vex's legs in what could generously be called approval. 20 minutes later, the most feared pirates in the Andromeda sector were shuffling back to their ship like scolded children. Grunk had to be physically separated from Nugget, a process that involved considerable negotiation and a promise that he could visit again. He brought proper tribute in the form of premium cat treats. "This never happened," Vex announced to his crew as they sealed the airlock behind them. "Sir," Grix said quietly, "there is orange cat hair all over our equipment. I said this never happened, but word had a way of getting around in the pirate community, especially when it involved the galaxy's most notorious criminals being defeated by house pets. Within a week, every smuggler's den and criminal hideout from here to the Melanic Clouds was buzzing with the story. The Lucky Strike continued its route unmolested. Pirates would scan the ship, detect the human crew signatures, and then mysteriously develop urgent business elsewhere. Jake never bothered to correct the rumors. Neither did Elena. Mr. Whiskers, for his part, settled back into his most important duty, sleeping in the captain's chair for 18 hours a day and judging the crew's performance with the kind of stern disapproval that kept everyone on their toes. And somewhere in the depths of space, Vex Krakenor was explaining to potential recruits that his crew didn't raid human ships anymore due to advanced security protocols. He never mentioned that the protocols had whiskers and a tendency to knock things off tables. After all, a pirate has to maintain some dignity, even if it's been thoroughly shredded by a 15-pound orange tabby who takes his nap schedule very, very seriously.